Some people around me recently had kids, and I couldn't help but think that by the time this kid is older, the world is probably going to be on a Bitcoin standard, and they're going to experience a $100 million Bitcoin. That's just based on a 15% growth rate. So by the time they're older, they're going to be thinking about their parents. And there's going to be two ways that they're going to be thinking. Either number one, they're going to be thinking, why didn't my parents buy me some Bitcoin? Why am I working this job I hate to make 20 Satoshis an hour, 0.0000002 Bitcoin, some very, very small amount? Or they're going to be thinking, I'm so thankful that my parents bought me this Bitcoin. They gave me 0.01 Bitcoin, a million Satoshis, and now I can buy a house, I can buy a car, I can pay for all of my expenses, and I don't have to work a job that I hate, so I can just go and pursue something that I truly enjoy. In response to this video, a lot of people will say that $5 to $10 worth of Bitcoin every month, every week, whatever you can afford isn't worth it. But in this video, I want to prove to you that it will be worth it. If you were to invest for your kid, let's say you have a newborn kid today, if you were to buy Bitcoin for them for the next 18 years, I think that you're going to be giving them the best gift you possibly can, other than, of course, time, other than love, other than just giving them the right morals. Bitcoin will set them up literally forever. This is a compound interest calculator that I created. You can change the numbers on here. If you just go to File and then you go to Download, you can go to Microsoft Excel. Don't request for me to let you change these numbers because this is a master file. Just go and download it. Go to File, Download Microsoft Excel. You can change it however you want to. But the cells here that are in yellow are the ones that you can change. So let's say you want to change the year. You wanted to change the Bitcoin price. Let's say Bitcoin price goes from 107,000. Right now it's at 104,000. It fell a little bit. From 107,000 to 104,000. It fell to $104,000. That's pretty crazy. But you can change the Bitcoin balance that you have. You can change the fiat balance that you have. You can also change your investments. So let's say if you wanted to do $10 of investments, Bitcoin gives you a 30% growth rate. Your monthly expenses are $4,000 today. This is more, the expenses are more to see what the dollar will be worth at the time. You can change your inflation rate, cost of living increase, and you can change the frequency at which you buy Bitcoin. So if you change the frequency, let's say you go weekly, it'll give you 52 compoundings. If you go daily, it'll give you 365 compoundings. So let's say you want to buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, 30% growth rate daily for however long, let's say 10 years. You want to go from 2025 to 2035. So in 2035, you will have, if you buy $10 worth of Bitcoin, you'll have 0.14 Bitcoin. Today, 0.14 Bitcoin costs you something like $14,000. Over the next 10 years, you would have accumulated 0.14 Bitcoin just from $10 daily purchases. In the next 10 years, your Bitcoin would be worth, you see here, $202,000. That's $36,500 invested over the next 10 years. The percentage of your investment that you would have actually had to put in yourself would be 18.05%. So 18.05% of this value would be what you put in. In that time, so you can see here, your Bitcoin would have increased by something like 6 times, 5.5 times. In that same time, your monthly expenses would have gone from, let's say, $4,000 per month all the way up to $65.15 per month. So that's about a 1.6 times increase. But your Bitcoin would have increased from 36,500 to $202,229. This means your expenses would have gone up significantly less than your Bitcoin purchases. Your Bitcoin purchases would have appreciated way more, meaning that you can pay for more of your expenses in the future with that amount of Bitcoin. So let's say in this case, your annual expenses would have gone to 78,000. That Bitcoin would be worth 202,000. So if you were to pass that Bitcoin on to your kid, they'd be able to pay for 2.5 years of their expenses with the Bitcoin that you gave them. So they'd be able to pay for 2.5 years of their expenses. Now, let's say you did this for 18 years instead of 10 years. Most people, they have a kid, they start investing for them ASAP. Let's say you go 18 years instead of 10 years. You would have invested $65,700. So the amount of money that you invested would have increased, almost doubled. But your portfolio, the Bitcoin that you're handing over to your kid, is now worth $1.7 million. In that same 18-year period, it would be 2043. So in that same 18-year period, your expenses would have gone from 48,000 to 115,000. You see that here, 115,000. So this is something like a 2.5 times increase, but your Bitcoin would have increased by something like 26 times. Your initial investment would only be 3.73% of your total portfolio value at the end of that 18-year period. And keep in mind, this is only with $10 per day. What if you were to do $25 per day? So that's $750 a month. I know that's not affordable for everybody, but look at the number here, $4.4 million. Now, let's say you can only afford $25 a month. That's still great. $25 per month. You would have invested $5,400. The Bitcoin that you hand over to your kid would be worth $144,000. You would have bought in this period, you would have bought 0.012 Bitcoin, 1.2 million Satoshis. So each Bitcoin can be split into 100 million Satoshis. You would have bought 1.2 million Satoshis. I think by 2043, loans against Bitcoin are going to be way easier to take on. So you'll be able to give your Bitcoin to all of these massive banks, really the American banks and really any bank in the world, and they'll be willing to give you a loan against that Bitcoin at probably preferable rates because Bitcoin is much better collateral than really any other asset. So with this Bitcoin that you hand over to your kid, you would have spent $5,400. They now have an asset base of $144,000 that they can start with. If they just continue with what you're doing, let's say they keep going, they keep doing this until they're 50, they're going to have $647 million. I know that's probably not realistic. It'll probably be a lot less than this. I do think that Bitcoin is going to $100 million at some point, but based on this 30% growth rate, Bitcoin will go to $100 million by 2052. If we go with a lower growth rate, let's say Bitcoin doesn't perform as well as we think it will, let's say we go with 20%, Bitcoin will be at $100 million by 2063. So by the time your kid is 38, they're going to see a $100 million Bitcoin. If Bitcoin rises only at 20%, if it rises at 15%, then they're going to see a $100 million Bitcoin by 2075. And keep in mind, this is extremely conservative. This is by 50 years old. So by the time they're 50, they're going to see a $100 million Bitcoin. Of course, your annual expenses are going to go up. We can see that here from $48,000. If inflation is only 5%, your expenses are going to go up from $48,000 per year all the way up to 2075, $550,000 per year. So your expenses would have increased by about 11 times, but your Bitcoin would have increased by 1,000 times. So any Bitcoin you hand over to them, they're going to be way ahead. They'll be able to buy a house. They won't struggle to buy a house. This housing crisis that we have is a result of people buying more houses than they need. If you stop that cycle, if you buy Bitcoin for them instead of buying them a rental property, instead of trying to create cash flow for them, just buy them Bitcoin, and eventually they'll be able to create their own cash flow. They'll be able to borrow against that Bitcoin if fiat still survives. I personally don't think fiat will survive at this point. If Bitcoin is $100 million, I think we would have gone way past using fiat on a daily basis. But over time, the use cases of your Bitcoin is going to increase. The ways that you can spend your Bitcoin are going to be way more abundant. More people will be wanting to accept Bitcoin. I think more people are going to only accept Bitcoin for the value that they provide because at that point, there's no value to the US dollar. So why would somebody want to be paid in dollars? So buy your kid Bitcoin, even if you can buy them a very small amount, $25 a month. If you can buy them $1 a month, that's better than nothing. You would have only invested $600 and that Bitcoin would be worth $99,000 in 50 years. Of course, in 50 years, $99,000 isn't going to be worth much, but it'll outperform your dollars if you just hold on to dollars for them. And keep in mind that this is with a 15% growth rate. So let's say we go with a 25% growth rate. Your $1 investment per month, and if they keep doing it after you pass on that wallet to them, that $1 per month investment would be worth $4.2 million. I know these numbers are crazy. These don't seem realistic to the majority of people. The majority of people haven't grasped Bitcoin yet. They haven't even thought of where it could go. So ignore that. Before you stop yourself thinking about all of the ways that Bitcoin could go wrong, think about how it could go right. And I think this is the best example of that. Even if you were to invest a very small amount, $1 a month, you're going to be passing on $4 million. If you were to invest slightly more, if Bitcoin's return is even higher than what we think, let's say Bitcoin's return is 50%, per year. In the next 18 years, your $1 per month of Bitcoin is going to be worth $53,000. So you would have only invested 0.41%, so $216, and the Bitcoin would be worth $53,000. So no matter how much you can buy, doesn't really matter. Put something aside. You don't have to specifically put it aside for your kid. You can put it aside for yourself. And then when they're older, you can just peel off a little chunk of it. You can just give them 1, 2, 3% of your stack. But the point here is to just buy Bitcoin. It doesn't matter how much you can buy. It doesn't matter how much you can afford. Just buy Bitcoin. The best decision you're going to make is to accumulate Bitcoin, because over time, the world is going to go to a Bitcoin standard. The world is going to only want Bitcoin. Everything else is a scam. Why would oil producing countries want to be paid in fiat when they know that the fiat currencies that they're being paid in can be printed? They're putting in this time, effort, energy to create oil, to produce oil, to take it out of the earth, while at the same time they're getting paid in something that can be printed. That makes no sense. I think more and more merchants are going to move to Bitcoin. So set your kids up, make sure that they're not working for 20, 30, 40 Satoshis per hour. Give them a million Satoshis, because for you, it's so much cheaper. And keep in mind that you can just buy lump sums of Bitcoin as well. It gives you the same effect. If you were to buy, let's say, 0.01 Bitcoin for your kid today, a million Satoshis, it's going to cost you about $1,000, $1,040 or so. Today it costs you that much, but in the future it'll be worth significantly more than what it's worth today. So let's say you go out and buy 0.01 Bitcoin for your kid. It's going to cost you about $1,000. In 2035, it's going to be worth $59,000. In 2043, when you have to actually pass it on to your kid, it's going to be worth $1.5 million. This is with a 50% growth rate. Let's go with a 30% growth rate. In 2035, it'll be worth $14,000. That's a $1,000 investment worth $14,000 in 10 years. That's $13,000 for free. In 2043, it'll be worth $116,000. That's a gift that you're giving to your kid, and it only costs you $1,000, but you're passing on $116,000. Think about the possibilities here. You don't need to buy them 0.01 Bitcoin. I know people who bought 0.1 Bitcoin for their kid. I know other people who bought 500,000 Satoshis for their kid. Whatever amount you can afford, get it. It'll make life a lot easier for your kids. Your goal should be to solve some of the problems that we have today to make it so that your kids have a step up. And I think Bitcoin is the best way to do that.